Hello, welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another edition of What is in Our Stand Today. And this might also be another hashtag at some point. I'm human, I make mistakes, and this is one of those videos where I want to talk about a lesson learned on this bike. So before we get on to the topic of the day and all my confessions, please like and subscribe, and please hit that notification bell. Okay, so in a previous video that I posted yesterday, I talked about how to free up a stuck shifter. And that shifter was a M770 shifter. And it never dawned on me to look that up because, well, when the customer came in, I just took this assembly for granted. The shifter was not shifting all of the speeds, and so I didn't realize that that was a 9-speed shifter and this back here is a 10-speed cassette. So after I unstuck the shifter, got that shifting all the gears, I tried to dial in the derailleur and I just couldn't, and I couldn't figure out why, because I just assumed that 9-speed shifter, 9-speed back here, 10-speed shifter, because when I counted this, I had 10 cogs in the back and a 10-speed chain. So I see a 10-speed cassette, a 10-speed chain. I thought it was 10-speed. So anyway, then I had to tell the customer, hey, by the way, the good news is I got your shifter working. But the bad news is you have a 9-speed shifter, a 9-speed rear derailleur, but your chain and your cassette are 10-speed. And, you know, he bought the bike used, so he didn't know any better either. And because it wasn't shifting, he couldn't tell that it wasn't shifting and indexing for all 10 cogs in the back. Well, so, you know, this thing is a Franken bike. If you know that expression, it just means a bunch of stuff's just been thrown on here. And, you know, you got a 1x setup in the front, which wasn't a thing back in the 9-speed days, for sure in the 9-speed days. And 10-speed days, I don't think they had 1x either. Just the cable routing, some other stuff. So I'm going to grab the camera, walk over to the bike and show you a few other things that I found in the process of doing this work. So let me grab the camera real quick. And so once I loosened up the shifter from the issues it was having, I then went to adjust the cable to get the derailleur adjusted properly. And then I notice this, right? So that goes in here like this. Well, this is brake housing. So they had brake housing, a brake housing ferrule, instead of what I have in here now, which is a derailleur housing and a derailleur housing type ferrule. And just so you could see what the difference is, that's derailleur housing on the right, and maybe the other side will show it better. So stand by just for a second. Apologize for all the camera movement. I'm filming by myself today. So you can see how much smaller the diameter is for the shift cable housing as opposed to the brake cable housing on the left. Okay, so there's that. So wrong housing, wrong ferrule. Then the cable was routed. So you can see this cable stop right here, but instead they routed it underneath the bike on this side. They completely ignored the cable guide. And I said, well, Okay, I'll reroute it the same way, because in some respects that's actually kind of good, because now you don't have contamination on the derailleur cable as you're riding in the dirt and mud and stuff like that. And it's full housing now all the way to the back. So initially I didn't like that, but it kind of makes sense in the end. But so they had brake housing going all the way from the shifter back here, and the fitting they had in here didn't fit right. So just a lot of slop in the cable if the housing is too big. And once again, this is a 10-speed chain. It's a KMC X10. It's very hard to focus, but hopefully that comes in. Nice gold chain, nice clean cassette and chain, but unfortunately it's not what is going to work. So I have ordered a 9-speed cassette that I'm going to replace this with, and I'm going to replace the chain, and then everything will be 9-speed. 9-speed shifter, 9-speed derailleur, 9-speed chain, 9-speed cassette. Now, there are some other issues with this bike, and that's this fork. So the fork is not responding. So we're going to try to service it by airing it up and all that other stuff. But if that doesn't work, then the fork might need a rebuild, because the seals don't seem to be, well, sealing. And then, as I mentioned in the previous video, we still have to do a brake bleed here. But the purpose of this video was to, if you're buying a used bike and you go to someone's house, do a quick check, please, because unfortunately, and this isn't the first time that this has happened, but it happens seldomly, so I didn't even think to check. But do a check on the componentry that's on there and say, okay. And, you know, a lot of this componentry will have right on the, like right here, the rear derailleur. And just do a quick Google search while you're standing in the person's driveway. Be like, oh, okay, M972. Oh, that's 9-speed. You got a 10-speed cassette and chain here, right? So, you know, caveat emptor, buyer beware. So make sure that if you're looking at a used bike, that things look good, but are they compatible with each other? And if the shifter is stuck, then there's no way to check the shifting to make sure that, oh, you're going to get all 9 or 10 cogs. But then you could also look at the number on the shifter. And, you know, this is where I'm a little bit embarrassed because, well, I should have done that before I started the job. But we all live and we learn every day. So that is my tip for you for today. Do a check, all the components, make sure that they are what they're supposed to be or what the seller's telling you that they are, and are they compatible? And then think about the repair costs, because right now this gentleman, we've had to service the shifter. We've already put a new cable and housing in. Then we're going to have to replace the cassette and the chain. And, you know, like I said, his shock's not working. His front fork isn't working. His shock is a little bit, he thinks it might also need some service. So we've got quite a few things going on here on a used bike. So just be aware of these things, and please be a smart shopper and, you know, avoid some of these pitfalls. This gentleman's spending quite a bit of money now just to get this bike compatible. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate all of you that come on to the channel. Please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, we will see you up the road.